think everyone in the world is aware that we are going through an immense crisis which potentially threatens everything. And I think everyone at 3 o'clock in the morning is assailed by deep, dark, sad feelings of despair and meaninglessness. What many people may not be aware is that in the middle of this crisis, and partly as a result of this crisis, an immense birth is taking place. And the force that is creating this birth is what I call sacred activism. And what sacred activism for me is a fusion of two of the most powerful fires of the human psyche, two of the most passionate and inspiring fires. The fire of the mystic's passion for God, the fire that has burned in all the great religions and in all the great mystical systems, and the fire of the activist's passion for justice, that fire that has created all of the noble and progressive institutions of humanity. When you bring those two fires together, what is created is a third fire. And this third fire is, I believe, the force that can save our endangered humanity and our endangered planet. I'll be talking more about this third fire, but first I want to give a very quick summary of the aspects of the death that are happening now and the aspects of the birth. That birth that is taking place in the center of this great death, and partly as a result of it. I think everyone understands that we are going through, as I said, an extraordinary crisis. But I think it's very important to face full on and without denial just how extensive this crisis is. Not at all to enter into fear or to be dominated by despair, but in order to be able to galvanize our will to do something absolutely real about what threatens our lives and the lives of every creature in nature. After all, you cannot do anything about an illness you do not diagnose accurately. And this is my diagnosis of the Great Death. This death has 7 main aspects, and I'm going to run through them very simply. The first is a massive population explosion. By 2050 we will have 9 billion people on the earth, which is 3 billion more people than we can house or feed. And there are already 2,000 million people living on less than $1.50 a day, and already 1 billion people without access to drinking water. We are facing a crisis of unimaginable proportions. The second aspect of this great death is an environmental holocaust that by now everybody knows is going on. I think global warming has been accepted on every level. By 2050 the Amazon will be gone if current rates of destruction continue. The seas are already desperately polluted. We are living in a continually degrading world, and unfortunately we are doing very little to stop this degradation and to stop the machine of death that is creating it. The third aspect of the crisis is a very unfortunate and dangerous growth of fundamentalism in all the major religions. It's of course obvious in Islam, but it's also very, very dangerously present in Christianity. And it's present too in Judaism and Hinduism and Buddhism. What people are doing, it seems, is retreating into a narrow vision of God, a tribal vision of God, to give themselves an illusory sense of security in a massive crisis. And this would be dangerous in any circumstances, but it's especially dangerous when you consider that the most volatile region of the world is the Middle East, and there three main fundamentalisms are warring for victory: Islamic fundamentalism, Christian fundamentalism, and Jewish fundamentalism. And this brings me to my fourth point. The fourth aspect of the Great Death is that there is a massive proliferation of weapons of mass destruction. Massive proliferation of nuclear weapons and biological weapons. And although evil has always been part of human nature, now it has these extraordinary weapons at its disposal. And when you think of the fundamentalisms concentrated in the Middle East, and the enormous anger and rage that a tribal religion can create, then I think you see just at what a dangerous point we are. The fifth aspect of this Great Death is a terrifying lack of coherence, intelligence, and moral responsibility in the media. We are saturated by images of crazy competitiveness, violence, pornography, and trash of every kind at the very moment when we need information and inspiration. The sixth aspect of the crisis is our addiction to reason, our addiction to science, our addiction to technology, which has led, as everybody can see, to the creation of a massive worldwide cement garden in which we grow more and more dissociated from the nature we are in the middle of destroying, and from our own connection with that nature. And the seventh aspect of this immense crisis is the terrifying busyness of our lives. I think everybody now multitasks horribly, lives a very hectic life, and finds it very hard to center himself or herself, to discover that divine peace and divine truth and divine inward strength that are the clues to our survival. So when you bring together all of these things, the hectic pace of modern life which divorces ourselves from our peace, the addiction to science, reason, and technology which has created the cement garden of our world, the media which is horrifically irresponsible at the moment when we need inspiration and information, the catastrophic growth of weapons of mass destruction, the catastrophic growth of fundamentalism, the catastrophic growth of a environmental catastrophe which we're doing very little to prevent, and of course the population explosion that threatens all of our agendas, then I think everyone in the human race needs to accept that unless something very profound, very passionate, very focused, very wise is done very, very soon, on all levels and in all realms, we are going to die out and take a great deal of nature with us. If I thought that this was the only aspect that this crisis presents us, I would recommend that everybody got some Kool-Aid and mixed some James Jones cyanide in it and sang Kumbaya one last time and signed off, but of course it isn't. What's also happening, and this is the source of my hope, and this is the source, I believe, of the hope for the human race. What is also happening